So we finally have Charles Rentchler with us, uh, an experiencer, and also has many abilities. And by all means, start out with your first experience of what you've seen in Pennsylvania with your friend. And I know there's a second one that comes right after that, I believe 3 months later, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, go ahead.
I'm psychic, but I can't really control it. I just get like premonitions and stuff. The first time I ever had a precognitive dream, I was 6 years old, and
Very young.
yeah,
Wow.
but I'm like the only male seer in my family on my mom's side, whose last name her main name is Heingardner, but her mother's name was Bean.
Okay.
Um, there are a lot of psychics in their family
Oh,
that use
wow.
tarot cards and stuff like that. I'm the only male seer in their family for 13 generations.
And Sears were a big deal in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, they were in central um, Britain.
Yes. And a lot of, and they were in the courts, what they would call
Yeah,
the courts of kings.
they were court magicians.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I've seen full body apparitions when I was 13. When I lived in Birdsboro, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
In fact, it was like I'm looking at you. It was
That
a guy.
clear?
Yeah, it was that clear. I mean, it's like he was really standing there.
Oh my
What happened
God.
was there had been a lot of things happening in the house that we were living in, which is near the Daniel Boone homestead
Oh,
in
really? Wow.
yeah, in Birdsboro, Pennsylvania.
That's interesting. That's an interesting fact. Huh.
When from the time that we moved into that, it was actually my dad's girlfriend's grandmother's house, and she got it. We got to live there after she had passed away.
Yeah.
Um, we from the time we moved in, we were hearing crazy stuff. I mean, people walking. There was a third floor. We'd hear people walking around on the third floor, and there's nobody up there. And when
What?
we would get up there, the lights would be on, but there's nobody there.
Oh, no.
And
Mm-mm.
so, we pretty much figured that there was a ghost. The house was haunted.
You
Um,
had paranormal activity also.
yeah, I am a paranormal magnet. And again, I believe it has to do with my blood type, which is AB negative.
Yes.
Um, so after about 2 to 3 weeks, we had been going to a Mormon church, and after about 2 to 3 weeks, we got tired, or we didn't know what to do. So we asked the people from the church. In fact, one night my dad said he heard what sounded like knocking on his bedroom wall, but it was coming from my room. Like I was knocking on my bed, but I was asleep. And
Did he blame you at first?
well, no, when he came in, he found out I was asleep. He couldn't figure it out.
Ah, okay. So
But
you were fast asleep.
these were stone walls with plaster covering them. And so for you to hear somebody knocking on that, they had to have been knocking, pretty hard.
Yeah.
And then another time, I had woken up in the morning and found the letter A carved into the plaster, but no dust.
That's scary.
It was right above my head, right above where my head was. So finally, we asked some people from the Mormon church to come out and either bless the house, exercise, do whatever,
You're asking for help. Yeah.
And the funny part about it is the whole time they're telling me that ghosts aren't real, they don't really exist. They're just a product that's something that Satan does to get people interested in the cult, all this other crap.
Yeah.
Well, I was sitting on our sofa, which was the back of it was to the windows that would look outside in the front porch. And I was sitting on the left arm of the chair, and I could see down the hallway. Now, when you come into the vestibule, there's a flight of steps that goes up to the second floor, and then there's a hall that goes to the basement door on the left, and then a swinging kitchen door.
That's type of like a Victorian house in a way, right? Your
Something
average
like that. Yeah,
Victorian. Yeah.
it was built in like the 1920s or something like
Oh,
that.
okay. Yep.
And so I'm sitting on the arm of the sofa, and they're steadily telling us this crap, the Christian stuff view of what ghosts are. They're just a figment, that the devil uses to trick you. And
from their point of view, right?
Right. And so I'm sitting there on the arm of the sofa and I'm looking at them this way. They're sitting in a chair over here, and then another one over here. And then my girlfriend's sons were sitting on the floor. My dad was sitting on the other end of the sofa, and his girlfriend was sitting in another chair. And as they're talking, I see movement out of my peripheral in my left eye, and I look, and there's a guy standing at the basement door. Now, this is the only way in and out of this basement.
Now, this is while these people are there, correct?
Yes. And I saw him vividly. He had curly blonde hair. He was wearing a baseball cap. He was wearing a red and black flannel shirt, a hunting shirt. He had jeans, boots, and a chain wallet. Right?
That's like it's like real, like right there.
Another human being. It was that clear. And so I jumped up and I said, "Hey, what are you doing in our house?" And everybody looked at me. They thought I was playing a prank.
Because they can't see him.
I walked up to the hallway and I stopped, and the guy was facing and he had a beard and mustache.
Okay.
He was facing the basement door. And when I started walking towards him, he slowly turned his head like this.
Oh, no.
Deadpan expression on his face, no emotion whatsoever, looked me dead in the eye, turned his head back to face the door, and unlocked the hook latch, opened the door, and walked in. And everybody heard footsteps going down the basement. They were wooden steps. They heard the footsteps going down the basement steps. That's when they took me seriously.
And the door opened without them seeing the guy.
No, that's just it. The door was not open. It never opened. It was like a vision. When I got to the door, it was shut, and the hook latch was still on the eyelet.
Oh, okay.
And that's what really blew my mind. But when we went, everybody heard the footsteps going down in the basement. And when I opened the door and I stepped through the doorway, the basement light was on. And there's no way that basement light should have been on. Nobody in the house turned it on.
So a lot of these adults went down there to check because they heard the footsteps?
Yeah. Well, I was the first person to the door, because when I saw that, when I saw him go in there, I was wanting to follow him, find out what the hell he's doing in my house. But when I got to the door, it was shut and locked.
That's scary, man.
And so everybody gets down in the basement, and the light's on, but there's nobody down there, and there's no footprints, no nothing. And so roughly 5 minutes later, the Mormon guys, they took off. They left the house.
They didn't want nothing to do with that after that.
They didn't want nothing to do with it, man.
See?
So much for their devil made me do it theory.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, that's the same place where you had the experience with UFOs, correct?
No, that was
a different area?
That was 2 years prior. That was in Birdsboro. The two incidents that happened in 1981.
Yeah.
The first incident happened in September of 1981. The second incident happened in December, almost exactly 3 months apart.
That's the one where you guys were like hunting with the BB gun, right?
Yeah, that was the first one. That was in Sinking Spring, Pennsylvania. In fact, it was a Sinking Spring Elementary School.
Okay, yeah.
The field that we were in. We were originally at his house. He grabbed his BB gun and we went out to the field. And at the time, the sun was going down, but it was dusk.
Right.
And so we're walking through this field. There's no moon, no clouds in the sky. You can see every star clearly because this is out in the country. It's off of 422 West.
Nice warm summer night. Yeah.
Right. And so he finally saw a rabbit and he shot it. The rabbit took off running. And we waited a couple seconds and then we tried to find it. Well, when we found it, it was laying on its side, and he had hit it in its left hind quarter.
So he was suffering.
Yeah, I felt bad for it. I mean, it was a pretty damn good shot because it was almost dark out.
Yeah,
but I felt bad for it. So I was trying to shoot it in the head with the BB gun, and it wasn't working. So I flipped the BB gun over, and I was going to smash its head to put it out of its misery. And for some, I don't know what possessed me to do so, but something said that I felt like there was something behind me. So I turned my head to the right, didn't move my body, just turned my head, and I see this solid black disc-shaped object coming towards us. And when I first saw it, it was about 100 yards away. And it wasn't moving very fast, didn't have any lights on it, but it made absolutely no sound. And it couldn't have been more than about 100 feet off the ground when I first
And
saw it.
this is very close and blocking out the stars.
Right. And so as I'm looking, the reason why I knew it was a solid object and it was disc shaped was because I couldn't see through it, but I could see its silhouette by all the stars.
Wow.
And so I'm stuck. I was in shock.
Yeah.
I couldn't move. I couldn't speak.
Absolutely.
And I'm watching this thing slowly come towards us, but eventually, at one point, it started descending to about 50 feet off the ground.
That's getting scary.
And kept coming towards us. Finally, I had to fling my arm out and hit my friend Mike, and that's when I was able to speak. I said, "Mike, look at that. Can you see that thing?" And I knew he saw it because he went in shock too. He was just.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were standing there watching this thing come towards us.
That's too close.
I don't think we were afraid. I don't remember being afraid. It's still in shock, because the last thing we expected to see is something like that at that point in time.
Of course. Yeah.
And so when it got directly over top of us, it was perfectly circular. So that's how I knew it was a disc-shaped craft.
Wow.
I don't remember it ever stopping. I don't remember it stopping.
It was always on a constant slow move.
Right.
Like it was on a mission. Man, that's scary.
Yeah. And so after it passed over us, it started ascending again back to about 100 feet off the ground. Okay. And that's when we took off running.
And this had no lights on at all.
No lights, no nothing. No sound.
Very dark and ominous is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it really was. So once we felt safe enough, we took off running back to his house, which we were only about 3 blocks from his house, so it didn't take us long. But we didn't stop running.
Quick, fast, in a hurry.
Yeah, in the amount of time it took us to get to his house, convince his parents and his sister that we weren't high, crazy, or making this up.
Right.
And got them back to the spot where we were at. It was gone.
And how old were you guys back then?
It was 2 weeks before my 15th birthday, and he was already 15. We were actually both born in September. He was born before me, though.
Okay.
Same year, same age, everything.
Oh, so you guys are really good friends then.
Yeah, he was my best friend.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's a stigmatizing event for you guys.
Yeah, so we made the mistake. We told his parents, and I told my parents when I got home.
Of course.
But the next day, or the next school day, we were in junior high school at the time. We were in 9th grade. And we screwed up and told people that we knew in school. And
there it starts.
Yeah, and we were stigmatized. They basically made fun of us every time they saw us. Hey, there's a space guy. There's
that's awful.
Yeah. And in fact, I got into a lot of fights as a result of it. Because I've always been the type of person, even when I was younger, that if I know I'm right, I will fight to the death to prove, to defend myself. And so I got into a lot of fights. I got kicked out of school.
You know what you've been through. You know what you saw. You know what you experienced. And that's how they are, especially at that age.
Yeah.
And then you have a second time that this happens to you.
Yes.
It's amazing.
And I eventually left that school. Had to transfer to another school and never said anything more.
How awful is that?
So then 3 months later, at about 2 weeks before Christmas, I was with 3 other friends, and we were in my friend Dale Imes's restored 66 Camaro.
Nice.
And we were driving just out for a drive, kids do. And we were up on a mountain, and there was a state hospital on top of this mountain. And once we got there, we turned around and we were coming back down, and we had come around a bend, and we were at an angle about like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know why nobody else but me saw it or saw it first. I mean, I would have thought that everybody had seen it at the same time, but I was the first person to see it, and I literally said, "Holy fuck, Dale, what is that?" And that's when he saw it, and he slammed on his brakes. Now there was snow. There's no snow on the road, but there was snow in the grass, and there was a ditch to the right of us, and we almost slid into the ditch.
Did you guys get hurt?
No, we didn't. No,
Oh,
everybody was fine. But we were sitting there, we were watching this thing, and it was lit up. I mean, like lights all over it.
this time it
It
had
was
lights on.
Yes, it had. It was behind a tree. The tree was about 30 feet tall,
Okay.
but it was hovering at the top of the trees. The bottom half of the craft was what you could see the trees in front of the tree branches in front of it, but the top half was visible, completely visible,
Wow.
and it made absolutely no sound. None of us got out of the car. I think we were scared at that point.
Not even a humming noise?
Nothing, absolutely nothing.
That's
Um,
creepy.
and so, but then we didn't have our windows down because it was wintertime.
Yeah.
And so we're just sitting there for like 5 to 10 seconds watching this thing. And the next thing we know, we're back out on the road driving down 420, heading west on 422 to go home. And nobody said a word about it. They didn't say, "Oh my God, I can't believe." I don't remember anything between the time that we were stopped and the time we got back on the road.
Loss of time.
Yes.
Wow.
And nobody ever mentioned it after that.
Like
But I
nobody
stopped.
wanted to talk about it.
I either that or, I mean, I would think that they would at least talk to amongst the people that it happened to.
Yeah.
They never did, and I
Yeah.
never brought it up again. So that was the second incident.
And loss of
Um,
time too.
yes, and
Scary.
so then there's the incident with the dream that I had 15 years later.
Okay.
Um,
That's about 96. 96.
yeah, it was in 1996. Um, I was married. My wife was carrying our daughter, who would be born that December the 18th. One night it was a Saturday, it was a Friday night, Saturday morning when I had the dream. I dreamt that now you got to remember the first incident happened in a grassy field at night.
Right.
So in the dream, I was standing in a grassy field, but I wasn't alone. There were two Caucasian looking people with blonde hair, dirty blonde hair, a woman and a man. And behind them, and they were wearing reddish brown flight suits. Behind them was a silver disc shaped craft with a tripod landing gear. The hatch was open. I can't tell what the amount of the ship that I saw was not. It couldn't have been the whole ship, because the one that I actually saw was probably about 30 to 50 feet in diameter.
So this thing was pretty big. I
Right.
mean,
All I could see was, in fact, there was a tree there, and I think that's what was obscuring part of the craft.
it's a pretty vivid
So
dream.
yeah, and I could see the color of the grass, everything. And all I can remember, there was a conversation being held, but the only thing I remember in the conversation was being told, and at no time did I see their lips moving. None that I can recall.
Wow.
But I was told that in the near future, they didn't specify exactly when, that some sort of cataclysmic event was going to happen that was going to cause the earth to become virtually uninhabitable for a period of time.
Telepathically.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Talk about
And
vivid.
yeah, I could remember their words. I mean, I just can't remember the sound of it, but I remember what they told me.
It's
But
almost
that's
like they
all.
pulled your soul out while you were sleeping to have a talk with you.
No, I think it was a suppressed memory from
That's
the first incident,
interesting.
because again, the first incident happened in a grassy field at night. The second incident happened in a grassy field covered in snow, and there was no snow in my dream.
That's the one where you had some loss of time too.
But I don't know. From what I understand, they have the ability to plant. They have what are called telemetry machines, which
Yes.
have the ability to project images and whole scenes into the mind of people.
So a lot of people in the military would call downloads. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And so I don't know
Wow.
which it was. I don't know if it would actually happen or if it was just something that they planted in my memory.
Right.
But they said that before this event happens, they are going to contact me and they will remove me from the earth. They said they will tell me where I need to go, give me enough time to get there. Don't tell anybody where I'm going, and don't bring anybody with me. Now,
And they
why
never
they
gave you a time that this would happen. They just said it would
now,
happen.
and this kind of bleeds into the event that happened to me in my bedroom here. I believe that they let me know that it's almost time. You have to understand
It's
that,
interesting with all the talk that's going on with full disclosure.
yes, and also all the things that are happening as a result of the Nibiru system being in our system now.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, that's right.
there are 65 active volcanoes currently all throughout the world.
There's a lot
There,
going on simultaneously right now. You're absolutely
yes,
right.
and they're talking about there is a 2 kilometer wide underwater volcano off the coast of Oregon right now, and the scientists are saying that it will erupt this year.
That alone would be a cataclysm.
It is going to wipe out Washington State and Oregon. Now you have to understand, Edgar Casey predicted this stuff during the pole shifts back in the during the Depression. He even
That's right.
created a map that shows that the states of Washington and Oregon are going to be gone, and they're going to be underwater, and that it's going to look like a giant bay.
I believe the Navy made a map based off of that theory
That's
also.
that's where they got it from Edgar Casey.
Yes. Yeah.
And so
That's
and
scary.
also the New Madrid fault is becoming active again.
I can attest
Not
to
long
that too.
ago,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been feeling earthquakes. I live about 130 miles due east of the New Madrid Fault in northwest Tennessee.
You're close.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it is close because I felt earthquakes. I'd even I'd run out into the living room, ask my parents, did you guys feel that? And they're like, no, what? I said, we just had an earthquake or a small tremor.
Yeah.
They're not very powerful. They're only like maybe 2 or 3 on the Richter scale. But at one point, an earthquake happened, and it knocked. I had a plate mirror, 3 foot by 2 foot, rectangular, on my wall, and it was in there with brads, or held together with the kind that you nail
Those.
in, and then you can turn the things
Yeah,
to
they're
hold
real
them.
strong. Yeah. For heavier things. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so it actually dislodged pulled the nails out of the wall, and the mirror was sitting at an angle like this.
Wow.
It almost completely fell, but it didn't.
Did you check the USGS to see if they
At that
reported
time, I
that?
didn't know about it. At that time, I didn't know about it.
Oh, okay. Because
And
lately
so,
we've been having tremors where I am here in upstate New York,
well, this
and
is the
I'm
result
not
of,
seeing it on USGS.
right. I don't think they're going to, in fact, they don't want anybody to know because they know they're going to know when the New Madrid Fault it ruptures completely. And it's going to happen soon. So this correlates, and when that does, it's not going to just affect the New Madrid zone. It's going to affect the East Coast as well, and the West Coast,
Yes,
because
of
what's
course.
happening is the North American plate is currently moving southwest.
And that's a whole craton plate that kind of dips down from Canada all the way down to the Gulf
That's
almost.
right. And what's going to happen is when the New Madrid Fault ruptures, there's going to end up being a 75-mile wide river from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to Lake Michigan.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's becoming active again. And there's also activity in California. In fact, there were like
I've been noticing that on the USGS, more activity along that New Madrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, not long ago, I want to say during the summer, there was an event that happened in the Mississippi Delta. An earthquake caused the Gulf waters to flow up the Mississippi, and it mixed brackish water or seawater with river water and turned it brackish, and nobody could drink it. And it happened.
Really?
Yeah, it affected New Orleans, if I remember correctly.
And there was
Um,
no hurricane at the time or any storms
no,
to bring
no
that up?
hurricane. Nope, no hurricane.
Oh,
It
that's
wasn't
not
even
good.
hurricane season yet.
No, that's definitely not good.
And so the last time that the New Madrid Fault ruptured, it caused the Mississippi River to flow backwards all the way up to I want to say like Missouri.
Wow.
Yeah, this is back in the 1800s.
So if this thing were to go, it would go in a big way.
Yeah, there's going to be a
But these tremors are an
magnitude.
indication
Yeah,
before the bigger
um,
movements. Yeah.
there's going to be a magnitude 9 to 10 earthquake that occurs when because this is a whole tectonic plate shifting to the southwest. And then what's going to happen is it's going to cause a trench in the Atlantic, and all the seawater in the Atlantic is going to rush down into that trench, and then it's going to blow back out and cause a tsunami to hit the entire East Coast.
Man, that's a lot of lives lost.
Yeah, it is. It's also going to. My real mother lives in Houston, and when the New Madrid Fault does go, it's going to flood the entire eastern half of Texas
That's
and
a lot
western
of
half.
flat land down there.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
western half of Louisiana and the eastern half um, of of Texas, or the southeastern part. Um, and my mom keeps telling me that she's having dreams of where water is filling up and it's going into the house and her house and everything, and she can't swim.
This is lately, these dreams?
This was about 2 years ago, and
That's
I
pretty
had a
recent.
dream. Yeah, I had a dream about 5 years ago that while I was living here, I had actually moved to Missouri for a while and then came back. But before I went to Missouri, I had a dream that there was an earthquake, a really strong earthquake. And then I started hearing wind blowing and it was howling. It was blowing so hard, it was vibrating everything. I actually woke up in tears from that dream because it scared me half to death.
So your
Um,
dreams are very vivid and they're
Yeah,
very telling.
they always have been. Um, and so after when I had found the book at the bookstore, it just so happens that the author of the book was doing a book signing and a lecture. So I bought the book and I waited for the lecture and I went to it with my wife. And after he was done, he told the whole story about Billy Myers and all his accounts.
That's the
Um,
book where it showed the actual craft that you had in that vivid dream.
yes.
It's amazing
Um,
stuff.
and it was the exact same shape as the one that I saw in the first encounter.
Oh man.
So
If
this made it real for me.
if that's not
But
a message, I don't know what is.
it gets better. I had I was in an institution for a while,
Mm,
and I had taken a course on computer electronics and PC maintenance.
okay. Yeah.
And it just so happens that my instructor was a big fan of the Art Bell show.
Oh, coast to coast. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
And
Great show.
I had been having dreams where I was I would get aboard a craft, a big one, and I would go outside the atmosphere and stuff. And in one dream, I remember I was in it looked like I was in uh, a glassed in container, cubicle, but it was big. But I could see clearly through it, and I could see control panels, lights flashing on them, and everything. Yeah, and I've never seen anybody. In fact, all the communication was done telepathically. In one of the dreams, we were done, and they had just dropped me off back on the ground. I was walking away from the craft, and I stopped and turned around. And I said, "Hey, what if I need to contact you for some reason?" They said, "Don't worry about it. We will be in contact with you." Now,
Oh,
I don't know when these things happened, but I know that they had to have happened because of what I'm about to tell you. Um,
okay.
After they said, "Don't worry, we will be in contact with you." I said, "No, what if something goes wrong and something happens and I need to get a hold of you?"
Right.
They said, "In that case, you can reach us on a frequency of 5.9999 gigahertz, which is microwave transmission."
Yeah, that's usually used by military or
NASA
NASA. Yes. And
and
those are the
satellite.
exact numbers that you were given?
Yep. Now, here's the crazy part.
What?
I never knew this. I didn't learn anything about this until I talked to my instructor. I said went to class one morning, or the morning after the dream, and I said, "You believe in UFOs and stuff like that, right?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Let me ask you a question. Is 5.9999 gigahertz a viable radio frequency?" He said, "Yes, it is, but it's not used by many people because the bandwidth is so narrow."
Yes.
In fact, he said that it would take a satellite dish this big around to capture the beam. So it's very focused beam. He
Yeah.
said the only
Yeah.
people that use that are NASA and satellites. And my heart, I mean, he
I can
said, "Are you
only
okay?"
imagine what you felt at that point.
Oh my God, yeah.
Holy crap.
Um, and so I don't know what.
But they're giving you these messages.
Yeah,
What do you think that's an indicator of? Do you think it's like to come out here and let us know so that
yeah,
we
I
can
do.
possibly
I
either
think that
prepare or be aware of it?
Yeah, I think the biggest reason is so I can warn people what's coming. There's a lot of people that are saying the same thing, but they're
That's
not,
true.
and there wasn't extraterrestrials involved. They're just, based on, Edgar Casey's predictions, so and so, Nostradamus, so on and so forth. And the fact that the Earth's magnetic pole has moved,
It's almost to
I'm going to
Siberia
say,
now.
like, yeah, it's in Siberia now. It was
Yeah.
originally in Canada,
Yes.
magnetic north. So it's traveled quite a bit, and
And
it's about to
faster
go
now. Yep.
and once it hits 40 degrees, or I think it's 44 or 45 degrees, that's the point of no return. That's when poles are going to shift, and it's getting close to there now. In fact, it's speeding up.
They have to change the satellites for us so
Yep.
that we can continue in a synchronized format for our GPS. And
Not
they're
only
doing
that,
that on
but
a regular basis.
have you noticed that the migratory animals are going 400 miles farther south than they normally do
Saw a
lately?
video about that on YouTube actually.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we know it's there's no telling exactly when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen soon.
And they
And I
also
believe
said there was
that,
a 15-degree shift in the Earth's axis.
yep.
But
And so it went from 23 and a third degrees to 15 degrees more, which would be 38 degrees. And once it hits 40, that's the point of no return. It's going to flip. So that's just 2 more degrees.
and a lot will happen.
Yeah, that would be the catastrophic event or cataclysmic event that these people warn me about.
So I would call these kind of vivid dreams, this communication you're having.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's either that or
these are gifts because whether it's perhaps connected to your bloodline
yeah.
or
I
there's
don't
so
like
many people like you out there,
yeah.
well, not a ton, but
Actually,
there's got to be a platform to get the message out. And another reason why I
I,
wanted to get you on here because you have these gifts, you have these vivid dreams, and they
I
relate
also
to other experiences in your past.
I
So
can also perform Reiki long distance.
really, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
um,
I've been looking into Reiki lately.
yeah. My teacher's name was Yvonne Montillo Perez. She's a Puerto Rican woman,
Mm.
uh, around my age, maybe a little older. But she asked me if I'd be interested in learning how to do it because because of all the stuff that I've been through, I need to learn how to heal myself. Because, like I told you before, I have severe complex PTSD. Um,
Plus, you wanted to hone in on the skills, gifts you have.
right.
Yeah.
She what she did was she taught us how to do it, what you're supposed to do before you do a viewing,
Yeah.
and then you would sit and look at a person and use your hands to visually go down through their chakras.
Yes.
And she said if you meet any resistance, like when you're trying to compress your hands together, or you feel any heat, that would be an area that's affected by disease or illness.
Heard
And
that.
so on the
Yeah.
first one, she had me do this girl who lives up in Toronto, and this is like we're doing it right now, like we're communicating right now. It was through the internet, through a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
So I go through the ritual that you perform before you focus on this, and I was going down her chakras with my hands, and when I got to her solar plexus, I felt heat. My hands got hot. I'm like, whoa. So I continued all the way down to her feet and then back up. And again, when I hit the solar plexus area, I felt heat emanating from my hands. And
That's
so
usually
I
not a good indicator, right? In
know
Reiki.
that's a very good indicator.
Oh, it's okay.
Um, and so when I was done, Yvonne asked me, "So what did you experience?" And I told her, I said, both times when I got to the area of the solar plexus, I felt heat emanating from it. And the girl said, "Oh my God, I've never told anybody this, but I have fatty liver disease,
Oh
and the
my
solar
God.
plexus controls your vital organs in this area."
Yeah.
Now, I thought it was a fluke, right? So then she had, and Yvonne she was like amazed. She said, you're the first person that I have ever seen get it right on the first try. Most people, it takes them a little while, but eventually they are able to do it. And so
And this was done remotely.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Just it was
amazing.
on a Zoom meeting. I could see the people that I was focusing on,
Right.
and she said, "Now I want you to do." The guy's name was Shane. I can't remember the girl's. Oh, the girl's name was Sarah. The guy's name was Shane. She said, "Now I want you to try to do the same thing with Shane."
Yeah.
And again, in my mind, this what happened was a fluke. Imagine it, whatever. So I do the same thing with Shane. I started the crown chakra, work my way down, and when I get to his throat, I had to. I tried to press my hands together, and I met resistance. It's like there was a solid air there. And so
Interesting.
I'm like, whoa, wait a minute here. This is twice. So I go all the way down and come back up. And when I get to his throat chakra, again, the same thing happened. The resistance of my hands. And so when I was done, she said, "So what did you experience?" And I told her, I said, I started the crown. When I got to the throat chakra, I tried to compress my hands together, and I met resistance. And when I completed it, went all the way down the feet and brought back up. And when I hit the throat chakra again, I met resistance again. And he said, "Oh my God, man!" He said, "I haven't told anybody. In fact, I haven't even told you, Yvonne. I've been having trouble swallowing. My esophagus is constricting, and I have trouble swallowing. They had to put me on. I saw a doctor for it and everything." He said, "Dude, you are good." And my instructor, she's like, "Oh my God, you're a natural." And so
Yeah. At this point, you got to be thinking, this is real now. Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. exactly. I mean, one
That's
one time would be a
incredible.
coincidence. One time would be a coincidence, but twice, and I'd never done it before.
Well, the first one was heat, and the second one was resistance, almost like
Right.
the ends of magnetic poles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Or trying to compress air. I'm
yeah,
going to show you some, so I can verify this for you.
amazing.
These are my manual.
Okay, yep, the healing touch.
Yep.
Okay,
This was started by the Japanese.
yes, yes, yep. I'm familiar with that.
Oh,
So,
you know, I'm not bullshitting about this. What happened
oh, of
really happened.
course not. No.
Um, and in fact, she's a friend of mine on Facebook. All you got to do is contact her. You can ask her how the sessions went, and she'll tell you.
Yeah, it's
Um,
amazing. I've been learning about these things, Reiki and the chakra and all this other stuff, just little by little. Not that I have any gifts. Um, I've been accused of being an empath, but uh, nothing like what you're describing, which is absolutely amazing.
it's funny that we're both the same blood type and we're both empaths. My
Yeah.
empathy, um, I I can't be around large crowds of people because I can feel their emotions. I can't read their thoughts, but I can feel their emotions.
Yeah.
And the stronger the emotion, the more it affects me. It makes me very uncomfortable.
I know.
Um,
I know what you mean when you talk about big crowds and you can gauge the feeling of. Usually for me, it's like if it's in a mall, it's usually like a
yeah,
certain amount of people, the first six or seven. But but that's
when
for
I go,
me. It's it, but I can pick up on it. And it's always been like that for me. And I don't tell many people, but
no,
now
that's
everybody that watches this, they're gonna know, and it's
no.
a fact.
Well, here's the thing. It's a good thing. It's a psychic gift. It's
Yeah,
a natural
that's
gift.
what I've been told. Yeah, yeah,
Um, and so again, because of our blood type and specifically my bloodline and lineage,
yeah,
um, I have a lot of royal ancestors, and the majority of royalty were Rh negatives,
yeah.
and
Oh
they
yes,
were
the RH
descendants.
negatives, RH positives. Yep,
Yeah, they were the descendants of the Draconians, of the Dracos.
I've heard that before too.
But there are good. There are good Dracos. That would actually make me a Draco or the Draco bloodline. But there are two different types. There the psychopaths, the narcissistic psychopaths,
And
and
there are
then
those for sure.
yes, and then there are the empaths, which are the good
Right.
Draconians. They're not all bad. They're not.
No.
Not to say that I don't have my bad side, but
Well,
it rarely ever comes out.
we're all human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So absolutely, I get what you're saying. Definitely.
And so the last experience that I had with a UFO, a very clear sighting. I
This is
mean,
amazing.
this is 9 months ago. Me and my son, my 10-year-old son, we were getting ready to go grocery shopping. Now we live in a very small rural town
Yeah.
in West Tennessee.
Nice quiet place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the last thing I would expect to see is what I saw. We were heading toward the car. It was a bright sunny day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, not a cloud in the sky,
Yeah.
sky blue and everything. But it was in March, around March or April. And I was walking to the car and I saw this cylindrical object. It was white, but it had blue markings on it. You remember? Did you see the pictures that I sent
I
you?
have the photo. It kind of looks like what smaller objects would go in and out of. That's how big it looks.
Yeah, that's what I saw 9 months ago,
Yeah.
and it was flying very. Now, at first, I
And that's
thought
what you
because
guys are seeing right now is a photo of that. Yes. That thing
um,
is humongous.
when I first saw it, I thought it was a passenger jet. But then I'm like, wait a minute, that thing's flying awfully low for a passenger jet.
Yeah.
And then I also realized that it had no wings or engines, no turbines. Then I also realized that it was blunt at both ends.
like the ones they were showing from South America. Remember those?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And you
And
saw
so,
this 9 months ago?
yeah.
Shit.
And so I was in shock. I didn't even think to get my phone out of my pocket. I'm just like watching. I'm saying, Ethan, my son, I'm telling him, do you see that? Do you see that? He's
Yeah.
like, yeah. Oh my God, Dad.
What
And
an
so I
experience for
never
him.
got a picture of it
Wow.
or video. So I don't have any proof. I'm just telling you what I saw. People want to believe me, they can believe me. If they don't, they don't.
Well, we have actual photos of them that were captured, so obviously
Right.
we'll present
Right.
that obviously. And those things can be very, very large too. But the way you described this one back in March or April, uh, that was also pretty close to you guys. It wasn't
Yeah.
like 35,000 feet in the air, right? Where you would need a
Well,
camera to
no,
zoom in.
it was up in the air pretty far because so I couldn't judge its size. But my guess would be that it was about a mile long.
Yeah, that's usually the average size that they talk about when they talk about it in South America. And
Yeah,
other places, obviously. I just referenced South America because that's where I've seen footage from.
right.
Yeah.
The funny part about it is that I had called a friend of mine, my best friend here, and I said, "Dude, you're not going to believe what me and Ethan just saw." And I told him. He said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah, I'm dead serious." He said, "You're not going to believe this. I just heard that military helicopters were chasing something from Camden, which is south of me, on Route 641, and it was heading north. The thing I saw was heading north by northwest.
And they were being followed
It
or
was being
chased
chased
by.
by helicopters, but I never saw any helicopters. It must have sped away and left the helicopters. But these are military helicopters,
Yeah, wow.
gunboats.
Holy
Um,
crap.
I think he said that there was like seven of them chasing it,
That
but they
many?
couldn't keep up with it. And so all I saw was the cylinder, flying cylinder, but I never saw any helicopters. And he verified. He contacted some friends that he has in this small town,
Yeah.
and they said, yeah, there were helicopters, but they didn't see any, UFO.
They probably caught up to it at a certain point and then that thing disappeared on the helicopters. It's the way
Yeah.
it sounds, yeah. And
Um,
this thing you said was blunted on both ends, right?
it was flat in both ends. Okay, now I'm going to get to the incident with the that happened. I want to say maybe right around the time when I saw that cylinder. Right, it was right around there.
Also, it's within the same year.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, it was
okay.
last year. Um, One night at about 10 p.m., um, I put my son to bed, um, and I had a lamp. In fact, it was this lamp right here. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
I put it in his room because he was afraid of the dark.
Yeah.
One night he came crying, banging on my door. No, I heard him in my bathroom sobbing. I mean, like hysterically. And
Mm.
there have been beings in this house. I live very close to the Trail of Tears. I don't know if it's the land or the house, but it's haunted. The Trail of Tears is only about 4 miles away from us.
Wow.
But anyway, I hear him in there crying. And at the time, I was playing Dungeons and Dragons online. I had my headset on with the microphone, but I could hear him in the bathroom.
That's a scary thing to
And
hear your child crying. Yeah.
yes, that hysterically. I mean, he was hyperventilating.
Wow.
So
This is
I
bad.
told my friends, I said, hold on a second. My son's in the bathroom crying. I'll be back. So I put my headset down and I go in there and he's standing there like this, cowering. Um,
Did he see something?
yes, he did. He saw a shadow figure.
Oh, no.
And he described it as having a big head and a small, skinny body. Um,
That's that
he
that
pissed on he pissed on the floor. He was so scared.
oh my God.
And so I put my arms around him. I tried to calm him down, and so that he could tell me what happened. He said, "Dad, there were two of them." He said there were two people in the hallway there. They were black, and I couldn't see anything. They looked like shadows, and I knew what they were. I knew exactly what they were. And so I took him in I cleaned the floor up for him,
He
and
was
I took
just a
him to go in
child.
my room.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, he's just a
he was
child.
only, I think he was 8 at the time,
Oh my word.
or no, he was 9. And so I told him to go in my room. He could sleep in my room. He didn't have to sleep in his room, because if he felt safer with me. I couldn't see anything. I didn't see anything.
But he did.
Nothing. We've actually had paranormal investigators come to this house to check it out. They were called the Ken 10. They're based out of Kentucky and Tennessee.
So you
Ken
had
10 Paranormal.
so you had an investigation in your home.
Things have been happening in this house um, since they owned it, but nobody's ever died in the house.
But you got a lot going on down there too.
Yeah.
Trail of Tears.
But anyway, around the time that I saw this cylinder, I had put my son to bed. And this is the incident with the video that I sent you. I was sitting in my room, and I forget what I was doing. I don't think I was playing DDO. I think I was watching a movie. And all of a sudden, my bedroom overhead light started strobing. I mean, like flashing, not blue, blink, blink. It was like real fast.
This is a big,
I
yeah.
don't know if you were able to see that or tell that it was flashing like that.
Yes, I saw
But it
that.
was.
Even with
Yeah.
there's some blue a little around one of the lights too.
Right. Now here's the thing. All I could see was the lights flashing, flickering, but I felt an energy, some sort of energy. I don't know what it was, where it came from.
No wiring problems.
It at before that, no.
Everything was fine with the wiring.
Yeah, everything was
No
fine.
issues.
I could feel the hair. I know that there was some form of energy in that room. I don't know if it was a scan or a probe or what.
Well, I saw those lights flashing in that video,
And
and
you could hear me say, "Dad, I can feel there's something in this room. There's an energy in this room. I can feel it. My hairs are standing up and everything." And my son was crying because the lights in his room were flickering too.
so that is why I heard him crying in the background.
Yes, he was scared shitless. He
Yes.
came banging on my door crying, saying, "Dad, the lights in my room are flickering." And I said, "So are mine." But I can literally feel something. The hair on the back of my neck and on my arms is standing straight up.
Oh, God.
Well, that's. Hey, man, there's something in this fucking house. The hair on the back of my arm is standing up. The hair on the back of my neck is standing up.
Well,
I'm taking a video of it right now. Brad?
Oh, come on. It's only the light.
No, Dad, there's something in here. I can feel it.
I don't feel it.
And he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, I don't know. And here's the thing. When you played that video back, you could see a bluish light coming through the ceiling, coming down from the ceiling,
Yeah.
and you could hear a droning, high-pitched tone that was not, and neither of these things were visible to the naked eye or the ear, or
No.
you couldn't hear it.
I even tried isolating it. Yeah.
But I did hear I had a sound bar connected to my TV, and a digital voice came through and said, "Welcome. There are 31 of you left."
That's right. Yes, you mentioned that the TV
Now
made a
that
comment,
freaked me out because my TV isn't set up to do that.
and it said 31 of you left.
Yep. In exact words. Now, the reason why that, I don't know if you heard that in the video. I don't remember hearing it in the video that I sent you
That part I didn't
because
think I heard, but I saw the lights and I heard him crying, and the lights that I could see that was not normal. Kind of like what we're seeing in these videos out in the streets lately,
right.
is the way
Were
your
you able
light was going
were
off,
you
your
able to
lights.
hear that tone in the background?
When I played it back on my DAW program that I told you
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
I isolated a part of it, and you can hear a little bit of like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a pitch noise, but
Yes.
it was,
Exactly.
but it was in an isolated part of it. So it's the best way I can describe it. But
If you get a
I'll
chance,
send you a copy of that.
add that video to the interview so people can see it and judge for themselves.
Yes, they're going to see it. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
know for a fact when I played it because I didn't hear or see anything.
It was
other than-
heartbreaking to hear the your son crying too, because obviously he was scared once again with this activity happening. Awful.
So it wasn't until after I played it back that I was able to hear the tone in the back, and it sounded like it was in all throughout the room,
Yeah.
and the bluish light coming down from the ceiling. And I never saw or heard any of that.
No,
While
but
it
our
actually
devices pick it up better than we do sometimes.
Right.
That's amazing.
happened. And so that was the last experience that I had with UFOs. And in fact, that was the incident in my bedroom was the weirdest thing that I had ever encountered, besides the ghost that I saw. Because I wasn't able to see or hear anything until I played back the video. Now the original video
That's usually
was
how it goes too.
the original video was about 20 minutes long, but I had to crop it so that I could upload it because it was on my phone. I used my phone to capture it.
Right.
And when you send to get it out of the phone or transfer it, I couldn't do it from the phone to a computer. I had to send it to my email, and then to send it to my email, I had to shorten it down to 1 minute. That's why it was only a minute long.
If you want to, I got a place where you can drop it into my Dropbox. You can.
I don't have the whole video anymore.
Oh, okay.
Because the phone, ironically, the phone that I captured that on got broke.
But at least we still have that one part though. So
yes, that's the most important part, because
yeah, I was gonna say,
you can actually see that was some sort of energy.
Yeah, when you play it back, you can tell something was really off.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine why your hairs were standing up that way. And
again,
how's your son doing after all this?
He remembers it. He's fine. You know, I calmed him down. I explained to him the best I could. You know, the best I could that he would understand. You know.
But he's growing up with a father with these gifts and so on.
Yeah.
So
well, he's gonna learn. He's gonna learn a whole lot more, and
I bet.
from me.
Yes.
Now here's this is the craziest part about that incident in my bedroom.
Yeah.
3 months before that, I had to replace a circuit breaker that was connected to my bedroom. And the night that happened, it fried that circuit breaker. I don't know if it was a power surge or what, but the very next day, I noticed that the lights were still flickering, and I said something to my neighbor about it, and she said, well, why don't you check the circuit breaker? So I did, and I went over, and when I got close, I could hear like a humming sound.
Yeah.
So I put my ear closer to the panel, the door of the panel, and I could hear crackling, like electricity arcing.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it isn't. That thing was a brand new circuit breaker before the previous night.
And your neighbors weren't having any issues?
No. I even asked them. I said, did anything weird happen?
Yeah.
Were your lights flickering or anything? They said no. And they live their house is like 20 to 30 feet aside of ours.
So this was just contained to your house.
In my bedroom. And my bedroom was the only my bedroom and my son's bedroom were the only places that this was happening in.
You opened up
I
this
even
box.
In fact, I even opened my bedroom door, looked down the hallway because the lights in the kitchen were on, and they were fine.
So
And
it was just
so,
in your room then.
yes, it was just the event only occurred in my bedroom and his bedroom, but well, my bedroom because the line that goes to my bedroom actually goes through his as well. That's why the lights in his room were flickering. And so when I went and when I pulled the door open, I could literally see blue electricity arcing from the sparks coming out of
Oh
the
boy.
circuit breaker. And when I went to turn the switch off, it wiggled. So whatever happened the night before, the surge of energy was so powerful that it dislodged the circuit breaker from its seating in the breaker box.
No
But it
kidding.
didn't push it all the way out. I could wiggle it up and down. That's how loose it was. So I ended
And
up having to replace it.
that you're saying it began the night before with the flashing, and then the next day the arcing, and that
Yeah, the
thing was
circuit
actually
breaker.
dislodged from its bracket.
It's Yes.
Oh my God.
One end of it was.
You know what? You probably know best how to sum up what's been happening throughout your life. But from where I'm sitting, you're
Well, see,
definitely attracting a lot of energy
yeah.
and receiving a lot of downloads. And
I at night, um, like when I'm sitting here by myself, I'll get thoughts, intrusive thoughts that aren't coming from me. Just like last night when I told you they said that it was, I didn't actually hear somebody. It's just like a
it's
thought,
it's
an
like it's
intrusive thought.
downloaded.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
And that happens to me a lot here. It never used to happen before. It's just like in the past few years that it started happening. I've been trying to find a hypnotherapist that does
Regression.
regression, so
Yes.
that I can go back, not just not just to the incident where the dream happened, but farther back than that. Because from my understanding, when these things, they don't just randomly pick somebody. They know the type of person that they're looking for, and they stick with them from birth
That's correct. Yes.
until a time when they can communicate.
Right.
So there's no telling what has happened in the past
It's
that I
like
don't remember.
it's almost like you're there, like someone is assigned to you, or a few of them are
Yes,
assigned to you.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
from the age, let's say, I think you mentioned earlier, maybe 6 years old was one of your
Yes,
first memorable experiences, at least.
yeah, and I'll tell you what the
It'd be
dream was.
amazing to see how far back that regression actually goes if you have that
Yeah,
chance.
like I said before, um, seers are and psychics are pretty common in my mom's family on her mother's side. Her mother's family originated from central England or Britain, originally around Cornwall. In fact, another one of my ancestors, you know the story about King Arthur?
Yes,
Okay. Who was his father?
King Arthur's father,
Yeah, it was Uther Pendragon. He was a real person. He's one of my ancestors.
Pendragon. So you're saying your bloodline's connected to this Pendragon and Arthur?
And well, Arthur wasn't a real. The whole story about King Arthur was more myth than anything else.
But
Um,
Pendragon
but
is
Uther Pendragon, yes,
right.
that they literally believed that they were descendants of dragons
Almost
or
like that
draconic.
show I was watching. Wait, I forgot the name of it, but blonde haired and they certain people could ride these dragons, whether for war or
Oh
protect their.
yeah, that was
Forgot the name of that
Game of
show.
Thrones, Game of
Yes.
Thrones, and
Yeah.
House of the Dragon.
Yes,
Um,
that's the one I was watching. Yeah, yeah, and they call it folklore, is what they call it. But when you go back and look at
all,
the
yeah,
strands of history, there's some truth to this stuff. So
I believe that they recently
amazing.
found the carcass, a frozen carcass in China, either China or Siberia or something like that, of a dragon.
And this was recently.
I don't think it was recently, maybe a couple decades ago.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would definitely love to look that up. Imagine seeing the
But
bones of a dragon.
they all, you know, that they found skeletons of giants, right?
Yes, yes. Even in the United
Some of them
States.
35 feet tall.
Isn't that
In fact,
amazing?
some of them, like the original giants, some of them were up to 75 feet tall.
They say that was like either offspring or hybrids of Anunnaki, and
I believe they
there's
were
been a
the
lot of
Anunnaki.
yeah,
I believe they were the Anunnaki. Because the Anunnaki, you have to think, the planet Nibiru is, I
well, they
think,
needed gold. They needed
it's
gold.
four, yeah, it's Nibiru is 4 to 5 times larger than Jupiter, and Jupiter is 14 times larger than the Earth.
That's true.
So that their planet is huge. So in my opinion, in my throughout my research, you know, because I've researched this also,
Yeah.
the size and stature and people have argued with me that if it was a larger planet, they'd be shorter and squatter. That's not true. If
Mm.
they're bipedal human beings or beings, they would have the same physical structure as we do. Bipedal arms, maybe not,
A lot of
but
it depends on their gravity too.
upright, yeah, they would be bipedal and upright.
Yeah.
But there would be, their size would be um, relative to the size of their planet.
Yeah.
So if their planet is gigantic, they're going to be gigantic.
And their gravity is going to be either heavier or lighter, and that depends
But
on
they're
how big
still
or
going to
how
reach,
small you are.
right? They're still going to have to reach a certain stature to be able to counteract the intense gravity of their planet. They would have to get gigantic,
Yeah.
and it would be the same as like it would be here on Earth. They
That's what
would be
made me
able to
think of
do
the Anunnakis
right.
when the people they brought to mine the gold for their atmosphere, to spray in their atmosphere for whatever
Yeah.
they to save their planet. Uh, what I've learned through my research is that they took either hominids of our kind way back
Yeah.
when, and that's why we have that weird DNA thing that no one can really explain, but I think it can be
Right.
explained. They just
And
don't want us
they
to
can't.
know.
Right. They're
Yeah.
saying they cannot find a missing link.
And all of a sudden, humans are digging this gold out for the Anunnaki, and Anunnaki are now breeding with humans, and then the story goes on from there. And
Right.
I'm sure you've
And
seen a
they'll,
little bit, especially on that show Forbidden Knowledge. They're very good
yeah.
at looking at
I
historical
like
stuff.
Billy Carson. I really like
Yes,
Billy
he's
Carson.
got a lot of good stuff on there. He tracks down a lot of historical stuff. But yeah, it's amazing to know you have bloodlines connected that far back.
They're psychotic to the point where they're willing to kill each other just to get a leg, one to one up, you know, to get more powerful.
Same way,
It's
same way
futile.
today. Yeah,
It's futile, right?
yeah,
But these people, the Rothschilds, the Rothschilds are actually at the head, the capstone of the pinnacle or the pyramid.
yeah.
That's why their whole system, it goes from the Rothschilds to the Illuminati to the Freemasons, Shriners, and so on and then the governmental people, politicians, etc., at the base of the pyramid.
Yeah.
That's
So
why the all-seeing eye is on our money, because that's the capstone of the pyramid, which is
yes, sir.
yeah,
Yeah,
them.
that's right. Man.
And so I I was warned. I remember me telling you about how I was warned
Yeah.
not to tell people about certain ancestors of mine
Right. Yes.
because the elite, the cabal, would try to kill me and my family.
Yeah. We talked
And
about that offline. Yes.
yeah, so I don't, I'm not going to go into it other than to allude that
Understandable.
the Da Vinci Code was absolutely correct.
You said it all right there.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been trying forever to figure out a way to reveal this or tell this information, especially the part where, the cataclysm. Because everybody the majority of people can feel that something is about to happen. And the
Like I
scientists,
said not too long ago, I know something is wrong.
yeah,
Everyone, at least everyone that's paying attention and should be paying attention, something's something's about to happen, and you can feel it. So, and
all
this is
right.
why the message needs to get out there that I think everyone should pay more attention to what's going on. Because if
And
it's not affecting you now, it will soon. Hopefully, it won't be as bad as some people are declaring, but it's definitely going to affect everyone one way or another.
well, I've also had dreams where I was floating outside our atmosphere, and I literally saw the Earth turn upside down.
Yeah, it reminds me of something too. All the planets, at least the ones they let us see with our money.
Yeah,
Of course, we know there are planets out there that they don't um, necessarily tell the children in school. But
right.
but if you look at
They,
all these other planets, you notice they have moons, correct? And their moons are going around that planet, and the
yep,
moons are always rotating.
yep,
But we seem to be on the only planet that has a moon that for some reason doesn't rotate. And
right. It's in
I just don't
Taiwan.
get why nobody ever caught that. That's just a common sense thing to think about. It should be rotating if it's an actual satellite from the result of Earth being made.
Right. Well, here's the thing: the moon is not our moon. Well, it is technically, but um, there was Native Americans remember
There
or
you go.
had stories that there was a time when there was no moon, so
Yeah.
it came from someplace else. Now, here, I have a feeling I know.
And
I
why isn't
know
it rotating like
it's
every other moon?
it's because it's not a moon; it's a spacecraft. It's a base, a giant base. It's hollow on the inside, and the reason why they know it's hollow is because they detonated um, using seismography,
Rang like a
and
bell.
it rang like a bell. And the only way that can happen is if it's hollow.
Yeah.
And then there's always the videos we've seen where there's portal or not portals, but gates open up and ship spacecraft are going into the moon,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So and they're saying that I've seen pictures that show that there are lit up cities on the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, there's a lot more. And what's a shame is, we've been paying for this. Uh,
Yeah, be lied to.
I'll give you a good example. We have a space station with 20, 50K cameras on there. Always, I mean, a lot of them. But we're
Yeah.
only allowed to see one, maybe 5K camera staring down at the Earth. Maybe at times they might have it at the horizon.
Well,
But
here's the thing. They've
soon as something comes into the frame, what's the first thing that happens? We're having technical difficulties.
Yeah.
I love that one.
I remember a time. I remember at one point they leaked that the ISS on their cameras they saw a ship that was 1,500 kilometers long and 500 kilometers wide. That's basically a flying city.
Yes, and there's someone who's always, almost 24 hours a day, keep an eye on that on, I believe on YouTube, and if I have the
Yeah.
name correct, I believe it's Mary Hall.
Okay. I
She
didn't know about her.
she captures a lot of what people don't even take the time to do. She's always recording whatever cameras they have on at the time, and the things she's captured before they put on we're having technical difficulties
Yeah.
would blow your mind. Definitely got to check that out.
Did you see the video where a guy asked Alexis, what did the James Webb Space Telescope detect? And
Yeah,
it came back that it detected an armada of ships
course
flying at
correcting.
below light speed heading towards the Earth, and they know that they're real because they changed course,
Course correcting. Yes.
right, and they're heading towards us. That's the Anunnaki, I believe, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
And here's the thing:
They've been very quiet about that ever since.
yeah, when the Anunnaki finally get back. Now this goes back to the jab, the mRNA therapy
Right.
that's supposed to help humanity, but it doesn't. I found that one of the side effects is that it actually creates a third strand of DNA. So it's no longer a double helix; it's a triple helix in anybody that gets that vaccine. So
Ah,
what that
yes.
does is they have just altered humans to something completely different. They are no longer the intellectual property of the Anunnaki.
Well, so then
And
that
when
they would have a lot of explaining to do.
exactly, and I mean, I would feel the same way. You just fucked up my creation. You know,
Yeah.
granted, you guys aren't doing that great on your own, but the people, it's the puppet masters behind the scene that are causing all this crap.
That's right.
And so when the Anunnaki do finally arrive, and people are saying that they are going to arrive this year. We will see them this year. When they come back, in my opinion, there's going to be hell to pay from the cabal, the Illuminati, etc. All the ones that are doing this stuff.
Something's going to happen for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because
so,
you can
that's going to
feel
be
it.
soon.
And then,
Um,
what do you think about the full disclosure with Dr. Greer speaking with this black site administrator of 30 years saying that they're ready to give the green light for full disclosure? Because nobody expected it to come from the government, obviously.
yeah,
So
no, it's not going to come from them.
it's got to come from someone from the inside. And
Right.
they're actually talking this month, but even if it's not this month, this year, you know.
Yeah,
But there's
I
been a
think
lot of talk about this month.
I think that it will be by March of this year at the latest.
If it doesn't happen in January, sometime
It
early
doesn't happen
spring.
in January. Now, I believe that Trump and his administration are going to be the ones that disclose it.
That would be that would be good.
It would,
But it comes with a
because,
lot. It still comes with a lot of risk.
well, yeah, well,
But
they've
my
already
thing
tried to
is
assassinate 3 times.
post-disclosure worries me.
Yeah.
But that I'll explain in another video, and I think
Okay.
everyone will get it when I say I'm worried about the post-disclosure, like after it
Well,
happens, because there's going to be a
what's
lot
going
of
to happen?
changes.
Right. What's going to happen when all these devoutly religious people find out that everything that they've been told about God and Jesus and whatnot?
Yeah, you're talking theology. Uh,
Right.
you're not going to need big oil anymore. You're going to need oil because everything you touch is made from it, plastics, everything, but not the amount that you're consuming right now for vehicles.
Right. I
But
think that once the disclosure happens, they're going to have to disclose the fact that they've got free energy machines.
open source it. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And that's going to change the automobile industry,
That's when you have a
transportation.
real electric car, not these ones you plug into the grid. Yeah,
Right. And not the ones that catch on fire.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
you already know. Yeah.
Yeah, I already know. I already
Yeah.
know. There is so much that I know that I want to get out. Um, that it would take a long. In fact, it's taking me 30 years to learn everything that I've learned. It would probably take me 30 years to disclose everything that I know.
Well, the way you're
Um,
going so far, you're starting to pick it up a little better than
yeah,
based on
I'm not
our
quite.
conversation. You've been picking it
Yeah.
up better in your adult life than you were in your younger years. So that's kind of a
Um,
good thing.
to be perfectly honest with you, the incidents that happened to me when I was a kid, I ended up turning to drugs because I had no friends. Nobody would have anything to do with me. Both me and my friend Mike.
People don't
Um,
realize it, but it's traumatizing.
it is. And
Yeah.
I ended up becoming a drug addict and an alcoholic as a result of it. And I haven't done any drugs in 30 years, but
Good for
I'm
you.
still, I
But
still
you
drink.
struggled. But you struggled.
I do. I know.
And
I
and
don't
you're
struggle with
speaking for a
alcohol.
lot of people that had similar experiences. And
Yeah.
I think that's very courageous of you to bring that out because when people have bad experiences in their life, whether it's the kind that you had or other kinds,
Right.
sometimes they just need to numb themselves. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
we
Exactly.
do it the wrong way, and we got to fight our way out of it. And it looks like you fought your way out of it pretty well.
I have for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm going to counseling for my complex PTSD, one-on-one counseling, and I am going through DNA counseling and group counseling with a small group at a place called Carey Counseling here where I live. I've been going through the counseling, the one-on-one counseling for over a year now, and it's helping. And been going through the
There's the
DNA,
key. Once you say that, that's the key that it's working.
and
It's good to
I've made
hear.
a lot of progress.
Nice.
I still have my issues with anger and because of a lot of stuff. This the the stigmatism and the ostracization is just the tip of the iceberg with me. I went through a lot of horrible stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Um,
Similar to what
and
I touched on with you offline,
right,
which
right,
I'll bring up at a later time, obviously, one
yeah,
step at a time, as we talked
yeah.
about. But yeah.
And so
So,
now, I'm doing a lot better. There was a time when I would just like snap at the drop of a hat. Now I'm much more calm, cool, and collected. Unless I'm in an extremely stressful situation,
right.
and then my fight flight instinct kicks in, survival mode kicks in, and
That's
I
nature. Yeah. But I'm glad you got yourself off the heavy stuff that was, you were trying to numb yourself with because of, and at least now you're seeing it in a positive way
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
getting the message out. And
right.
I got to thank you for using my humble, grown platform to get your message out. And after I heard your
I'm
story, I knew it was imperative that I get you on here to talk
I'm
about it.
grateful. Listen, I'm grateful for the experience or the way for the reason I said, but I thought it was really more than just a coincidence that I met you through another associate.
Yes, yes, very good. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, I'm grateful to be here, man. In fact, I'd love to come back and do another interview.
Let's do that. Yes. Whenever you're ready and you have some time.
Yeah,
And of
I'm going
course,
through some stuff right now,
I'm
but so it's
expecting you to have more to come. I know there's more because we discussed some stuff earlier.
oh yeah, there's a
And
lot of stuff.
I would definitely love to have you back on to talk about it some more. Absolutely. That would be
I'd
great.
really like to talk about the incident that happened in North Carolina with Helene
Okay.
and how it was handled. Um, and it dealt with a lot of corruption in the Biden administration, a
Okay.
whole lot of corruption. But I'll save that for another time.
Okay.
Um, hopefully, they get prosecuted and thrown in prison for what they did.
So
I
you
have family down there.
so you have a lot of information on this particular story.
Yeah.
Well, not
The same
story,
thing
but
that
event.
happened, the same thing that happened with Asheville, North Carolina, happened with the Wyoming
Oh,
fires
yes, yes.
because they found huge deposits of lithium. The deposit, there's actually found two deposits, one of pure quartz crystal. The United in that area has the largest deposit of pure quartz crystal for the AI industry. And then they turned around and found the third largest lithium deposit in the world in that same area.
I've heard that too from another colleague, I should say, and now I'm hearing it from you. So
And
there's definitely a large deposit of that there, because
I
otherwise I
know
wouldn't be hearing it through three, four
that
different sources.
those deposits combined are worth $535 billion.
My God, that's a lot
And
of money.
so that's why they were so reticent about sending FEMA in. You see how long it took them to get FEMA to North Carolina?
Uh, it's really sad sometimes. It breaks my heart.
I was so angry, man. I posted stuff on Facebook every time I found something. I posted on Facebook. I was telling all my friends and family what was going on, and they were like, "There's no way." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? If you knew who was involved with this,
Mm.
that's what I'm saying." And what's his name? Cash Patel. He's flat out stated, when I get in, when I start working, everybody that is involved in the corruption is going down. Everybody.
He made that statement.
Yes, he did. And
Uh,
I already told you who was involved with that.
that'll be
The people
interesting to see how that plays out.
yeah,
Holy crap.
and they were in the button. I may as well just say it now. It was Hunter Biden and Kamala Harris's husband. They are shareholders of BlackRock and Vanguard. Get this: 6 months before Helene hit, they knew that deposit was there. Now, you also know, you and I both know that they have the ability to alter weather conditions and direct storms.
Mm.
People were saying that they had that when that hurricane was heading south, it made a U-turn and went straight up through North Carolina. The worst of it. The worst should have been the coastal areas, but the worst actually happened in the Appalachian Mountains.
Inland. Yeah.
Right, 300 miles inland.
We're usually supposed to feed off of the water to give
Right.
it the energy. That was
Exactly.
weird.
But it sped up and it became even more powerful when it went through North Carolina. Now, right as soon as you started hearing the stories about the destruction and everything,
Yeah. That was
one
bad.
woman came on and did a video where she said that they blew up the dam in near Asheville, and that's why it did so much. No, it was Chimney Rock. That's why it did so much damage. Somebody blew the dam up. She said it wasn't thunder. It wasn't nothing. It was, they literally heard explosions.
And
Not
and nobody on the news covered that part.
hell no.
Interesting.
These people own the news media. They're not going to say anything about this. But then you start hearing, I heard that at the same time that this was going on, FEMA was offering people, they had to walk to the station to get it, which they couldn't do. They only offered them $150.
I saw that on
150,
Facebook. Yeah.
but they offered to finance loans of up to $50,000 because nobody had flood insurance there. It doesn't flood in the mountains.
Right.
Nobody had flood insurance, so the FEMA was offering them loans of up to $50,000 to repair their homes and stuff
That's
like
like
that.
nobody had fire insurance for the fires in Maui.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
It gets deep.
they said, but these loans had to be paid back within a year. How are you supposed to pay back a loan a year later when you can't even fix your property? You can't get to work do a job, nothing.
No,
And if they didn't pay off that loan, they were going to seize their property. So it was a land grab after they found out
basically
about
eminent domain.
a right.
Yeah.
Now get this. It turns out that at the same time, Kamala Harris, the Biden administration and Harris bragged about it. We're going to send I think it was $157 million to Lebanon to help them, but they didn't do shit to help the people in North Carolina and East Tennessee. And then they turned around and gave a $90 million grant to BlackRock and Vanguard to expand mining operations in that area where they stole the land from the people in North Carolina.
And
now you tell me
activities are happening now to extract that.
Yeah, they've already started expanding.
Wow.
I was furious. I was livid, man. I was mad for weeks about that. And when I tried to tell people, they were like, "There's no way, man. You're crazy." I'm like, really? If I presented all this
because they want
evidence,
to fact check everything, right?
right? If I were to present all this evidence in a court of law, they'd be in prison because they are guilty of murder of the people that they starved, that they. In fact, the FEMA was going around, and you know how churches were donating stuff and they were taking it down there.
Yeah.
FEMA was confiscating it. FEMA was confiscating it and saying, well, because we're professional, we're going to distribute this stuff.
Oh, churches are allowed to do it on their own as long as it's not any danger to them.
They're a government organization. They felt that they had the power to take all the stuff that was donated away from the people they're actually going out there and getting it to the people that are suffering. FEMA confiscated it and then said that, yeah, well, we're gonna take care of it.
Wow, I wasn't aware of that.
Yes.
Wow.
In fact, the locals there were people that were able to, like, on their phones, they were doing videos and saying exactly what the hell is going on there. But you didn't see shit about it on the news.
Everybody on social media were talking about it, but not local TV stations that are affiliated with the big people. They weren't allowed to talk about it.
They did the same thing in Wyoming with the fires in Wyoming. They found a huge deposit of lithium there too. How are they going to get it? Burn it down, burn the forest down, depreciate the value of the land, and buy it up. So it's all land grabs.
And look at these California fires.
Yep, same thing. You know what they're doing in California? Why they did that in California?
They actually said Kamala Harris's home was burned down, I guess.
Yeah. They used DEWs, direct energy weapons, to start those fires.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that the whole area that burnt, it was destroyed. There was a country club, took no damage.
I always heard they wanted to make some kind of new modern city there.
Yeah, they're going to build. They plan on building in 2028. They plan on building smart cities, and there is a high. Yeah, they also have a plan for a high-speed rail system that goes from Northern California down to Southern California, and it would have to go through LA, and then they're going to be putting up these smart cities, these 15-minute cities.
That's what I heard.
That's why that happened.
A lot of people are talking about that.
Listen, I am so surprised that.
But see, when you have people when you have fatalities in these situations, that's what really gets me.
Yeah,
that's what gets me angry. But it's awful.
And they were willing. They were saying that the death toll in the area where the worst damage happened, they were saying it was only hundreds of people, but it wasn't. It was over 5,000 people died. They lied about the numbers. They lied about why it was being done, everything. And it's all about greed and buying up land, grabbing up land so they can profit from it and fuck everybody else.
Centuries old tricks.
Yeah. You know what? The state of Tennessee did that here, near where I live.
Oh, yeah?
It's called Land Between the Lakes. Yeah. It happened in the 1950s. They wanted to create a large lakes, 2 lakes.
Yeah.
But there were people living there, and they didn't want to give up their land. So what they do, they flooded it, and they let the people. There were people dying on rooftops, and they would not rescue them.
Oh my God. That's sad.
So this isn't something that's. Look what the railroaders did when they first started building the railroads.
Yeah, we all know those stories.
Yeah. And so this is just like it's common for our government. They think our country has the greatest government in the world, and that's a bunch of bullshit. We may have the greediest country in government in the world, but we don't have the greatest government in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have some issues in this country for sure.
Well, I certainly
And it's
hope
actually a worldwide issue, but definitely also in our country too.
Well, I certainly hope that once Trump gets in office and his cabinet gets in office, they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And there's going to be a lot of people going to prison.
Yeah, he's been talking about a lot of what I would say purging, if you would. Yeah.
They also said this one woman that he has says that as soon as she gets in there, she's going to release the Diddy list and the Epstein list.
Oh, really?
Yeah, somebody already. It was a woman. I don't remember her name, but somebody already revealed or released the list, the Diddy list. But so far, we have not seen any of the clientele for Epstein and Maxwell.
No, and he perished early on.
Oh yeah, and when was the last time you heard anything about Ghislaine Maxwell?
That's a good question.
And guess what's already happening with Diddy? It's just it's hushing up. They're going to let it blow over. Mm-hmm. But I guarantee you, it's not. This is not going to blow over this time. The Trump administration is going to release the names of the clientele.
Yeah, I think they will.
They're going to investigate them, and then they're going to prosecute. Yeah.
Oh,
the apocalypse. Do you know what the Greek word there is? Apocalypsis.
Yes.
You know what it means? It means lifting the veil or revealing the truth.
Lifting the veil.
Apocalypse. It's not a world-ending thing. Well, it's going to be world-ending for some people, but it's going to be an eye-opener. The truth is going to be revealed. That's what the apocalypse is.
It does mean lifting the veil. That's right.
Right. And that's why the book of Revelation is called the book of Revelation, is to reveal.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did a lot of studying on that. And,
so did I.
But like we spoke off camera about what I believed, how things were interpreted a few thousand years ago based on the vocabulary they knew then. But, like I said, that would be for another time, but definitely, yeah.
Well, I had a great time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you made it, and I was so glad we actually were able to do the interview. We had a little rough start, but we got through it. Absolutely. It's been great.
So I want to thank you, and I hope that you have a great night, man, rest of the night.
Thank you. I was looking forward to this all week, and I was getting a little nervous, and we had a little bit of difficulties earlier, but it came through just perfect. Yeah. And I thank you very much for telling your story, sharing, giving us some information that's extremely important. And we got to have you on again. So stay in touch, and we'll set something up for another one.
Okay.
Absolutely. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Rentchler. This guy has a gift, and he has a lot to say, and we're going to have him back on the human spectrum. It's been an honor, sir.
It's been an honor for me, too.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself. Bless your family.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night.
The human spectrum's on the track, yeah.